You may recall a few months ago we told you about the widow of a POW from the Korean War. She's still fighting all these years later to get her husband's benefits.
Yeah, and after that story aired, we received calls from other vets in similar situations, like Joe Bentley, a retired Army vet from Vietnam. He actually got the VA to admit a mistake, but still hasn't got all the money he says is owed.
For those who lived through that era, Vietnam conjures up many images.
With the guy that was lost, what we went through.
As Specialist 4 Joe Bentley walks around the Western Slope Vietnam Memorial, he can't help but tear up. It was a war that changed his life.
And I'm still dealing with it to this day. I have pain in my foot all the time. I've had the pain in my foot ever since I got out of the military. It's never gone away. I've just learned to deal with it.
But Joe, like so many vets, isn't only dealing with pain, he's dealing with the government,
which was a denial.
Trying to get disability benefits from 40 years ago.
Of course, I was a young kid, and I didn't know any better, so I didn't, you don't fight the government, so I just let it roll.
This memorial dedication was actually a birthday present from Joe's wife and kids, a recognition of his service and his sacrifice, a sacrifice he's now trying to get recognized by the government in the form of benefits he says he's earned.
And I hired me a lawyer to handle the case because I wasn't getting anything done. They just kept giving me excuses after excuse after excuse.
In 1971, 2 years after Joe left the Army 100% disabled, his claim was dropped to 50%.
They left out my total drop foot. They left out my vascular.
Everybody makes a mistake. If they find an error that they've made, they don't quibble.
Dave Dunnigan works for Disabled American Veterans. He says as the Vietnam War was winding down, the VA was stretched thin with vets, and sometimes they didn't see eye to eye.
In 1971, the VA just wanted to get you out of their hair.
Another time, they lost my files. Another time, they sent my files to an unknown address.
Years later, in 2004, on the advice of another vet, Joe refiled and actually got someone to listen. He received a retroactive payment, but still something was missing.
Why don't they pay me? Why don't they give me what's rightfully mine? I earned it. I should have had it all them years.
The 21 years I've been doing this, I've gotten 6 or 7 back, retroactive.
Joe is no longer just fighting for himself, but for all veterans.
It never ends. It never ends.
Hoping they don't have to struggle like he has. 3 bankruptcies, untold hospital visits.
This one was from the first hand grenade.
And an unending pile of paper. All evidence that his sacrifice should not be overlooked.
How do I feel? Disappointed. Hurt. Kicked aside. I was just a number. That number no longer exists.
This monument, with its legendary hewing, is dedicated to those who served our country during that era.
Joe says he's not ready to give up. He says the fight now is about every veteran in his situation, delayed or denied by the VA. He hopes his story serves as a reminder that time doesn't necessarily heal all wounds. Sometimes you have to be willing to fight.
And it's a good thing he is fighting because, I mean, really, how many more other veterans are in the same position he is?
We've heard this story 100 times, and it just seems to keep happening. So.